Horizon Forbidden West is amazing, and the Horizon series is slowly becoming one of my favorite gaming franchises. A lot of people think these games are mid or overrated, but I actually think they are underrated. You see, a few weeks ago I played Horizon Zero Dawn for the very first time with the PS5 remaster, and I was absolutely blown away. It's one of the best looking open world experiences I've ever played, and I truly believe it is one of the best stories in modern day gaming. So when I got the Platinum Trophy for it and completed the Frozen Wilds DLC, I just had to play Forbidden West as soon as possible and see where this epic journey went next. And after 80 hours of playtime, I achieved the Platinum Trophy, completed all side quests and errands, and finished the Burning Shores DLC, which blew my mind, especially at the end. If you've played it, you'll know why. But there's a bit of online discourse surrounding this game. A lot of people were disappointed with the sequel, mainly the story, and while I can understand some of the criticisms, I think everyone is being a bit too harsh. It's no secret that Zero Dawn's story is almost impossible to top, but I like the story in Forbidden West. I do have some critiques, but almost every other aspect of this game is an improvement. The game mechanics, the weapons, the traversal, and not to mention the graphics are just phenomenal. We're introduced to new machines, new tribes, and a deeper dive into the lore of post-apocalyptic United States of America. This is more than just your average Platinum video. Games like this need their stories to be told, not just played. I'm going to go pretty in depth into the story and the DLC, and also give my analysis and thoughts at the end. I'd love to open a discussion about this series because I feel like not enough people truly appreciate these games when making their videos. The base game gives us 59 trophies including the Platinum, and also 18 trophies in the DLC. There are trophies for doing New Game Plus, but I didn't do them because I wanted to get started on this video as soon as possible. Forbidden West starts 6 months after the events of Zero Dawn, where Aloy defeated Hades, a subfunction of the AI terraforming system GAIA, which was used to create and regulate life on Earth. But an unknown signal caused Hades to go rogue and try and wipe out all life. GAIA initially self-destructed as a precautionary measure to stop Hades, but it didn't work. So Aloy is searching for a backup of GAIA so that she can restore the Earth to how it should be. Because without GAIA, the Earth's biosphere is spiraling out of control, in the form of supercell storms and a toxic red blight which is destroying the crops and the animals. Aloy isn't having much luck finding GAIA, and she also has a recurring dream where she sees Elizabeth Sobek, the scientist who created GAIA, and if you need a reminder, Aloy is essentially a clone of Dr. Sobek, as she was made from her DNA so that she could one day reactivate GAIA if needed. We're shortly found by Val, a fellow Nora who made a brief appearance in the first game, albeit not a very important one. Val wants to help Aloy on her journey, so she gives him a focus, which seemed to be given out like candy in this game.
You see like this all the time?
Since I was a little girl. Come on.
This first part of the game serves as a tutorial, reminding you how to play the game, as it did come out 5 years after Zero Dawn. We're then introduced to our first new machine type, Burrowers. Look how cute they are. And upon searching some ruins, we stumble across an old Far Zenith facility. Foresight. These guys were briefly mentioned in Zero Dawn, mainly through data points. Inside the facility, we find a destroyed camp and we craft ourselves a pullcaster, a new device that we use to clear debris and also serves as a grappling hook. We come across a hologram of Oswald Dalgard explaining the Far Zenith's plans, which were to create humanity's first off-world colony by sending a ship called the Odyssey to the Sirius star system. But reportedly, the ship never made it because it blew up. The Far Zenith knew that Earth was eventually going to crumble, so they basically pretended like they were going to save humanity, but essentially just sold seats on the ship to billionaires in order to save the world's elite. It's giving 2012 vibes. Another hologram reveals that the Far Zenith actually stole a copy of GAIA, which is stored in their data center.
Phase 2. The asset will secretly beamcast a complete copy of GAIA and her subordinate functions to this facility's data center. If all goes well, Zero Dawn staff will remain completely unaware of the transmission.
And Aloy explains to Val what GAIA is and how she was made from Elizabeth's DNA. While trying to get to the data center to retrieve the copy of GAIA, we have to get rid of some Slitherfangs by crushing them with old rockets. But one of them survives and we have to fight it off. I will say that pretty much all the new machines in this game are incredible. After entering the data center, Aloy is able to recover what she thinks is GAIA 6.9. 69. But it turns out to be a dupe, showing a hologram of Elizabeth and Travis Tate, creator of Hades, giving the middle finger to the Zeniths for stealing GAIA. Val suggests going to Blameless Marad in Meridian to help track down Silence, who he thinks might be able to help. As we approach Meridian, Aloy is showered with praise. Praise that she doesn't necessarily want or feel like she deserves, given that she grew up as an outcast and she views that what she did was just her fulfilling her destiny. Murad tells Aloy that the pod containing Hades started glowing and traveled up the spire. Upon investigating, she finds out that Silence actually stole Hades and took it west so he could learn from it. Brother, seriously, look at these details. This game is insane. Sun King Avad shows up alongside Uthid, Vanasha, and his half-brother Itaman, who present her a headpiece and spear as a token of gratitude. Murad explains that the Forbidden West is controlled by a vicious clan called the Tanakh, who control the border, but Sun King Avad has been able to make temporary peace with them and might be able to arrange safe passage during an event called the Embassy. This is a meeting between the Kaja and Tanakh delegates in an attempt for King Avad to re-establish peace between the tribes after the Red Raids. At the next embassy, the Kaja will offer treasure in exchange for a prisoner named Fashav, who happens to be Avad's cousin. Avad tries to lay some riz on Aloy, but we are not interested. No sir, not today, not ever.
Spend time to get to know each other properly, perhaps.
This mission, it's my life.
Aloy ditches Val in the middle of the night to go west, and we get a montage and the opening title card. We arrive at the Daunt, the border between the east and west, which is controlled by a single cable car. However, the cable car operator is under strict instructions not to operate the car because the valley is infested with machines, and they must wait until the whistle at Chainscrape has been blown, signifying that it's safe. But we don't have time to waste, so Aloy uses her boss bitch attitude to convince this dude to lower us down.
Look, I didn't come all this way just to stand around and wait. I'll crank that car down myself if I have to.
Well, but then who would crank it back up? Fine.
We meet a member of the Vanguard and a Kaja sun priest named Wadis. Sorry, Studious Wadis.
Wadis. That's Aloy.
Studious Wadis.
Wadis.
Studious Wadis.
Hey!
He's meant to be running the embassy, but he can't perform it due to the machines. And this guy here tells us where to find Erend. As we enter Chainscrape, we meet with Petra, and I'm not gonna lie, I do not remember her from Zero Dawn. She offers to catch up over a beer, but Aloy brushes her off because, you know, we gotta save the world. We get introduced to a workbench where we can upgrade our weapons and outfits, and a stash restoring extra inventory. Forbidden West really expands on the RPG elements of the game with the upgrades and a complex skill tree. They do a great job of fleshing out the side quests and errands, which really complement the immersion in this world. Another new element in Forbidden West is food, where if you collect certain ingredients in the wild, you can make a meal and get special abilities. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't use this once. I mean, I did the first one because it was an errand, but during my whole 80-hour playthrough, I didn't once make a meal. We then meet Olvend, self-proclaimed leader of Chainscrape, who basically just brought his way into power. He's your typical self-made millionaire, post-apocalyptic entrepreneur, bro. He controls most of the business in Chainscrape, and he ordered a work stoppage. But after saving some workers in a collapsed mine, we do some more investigating and find out that Olvend was authorizing the use of explosives in the mines, which in turn allowed the bristleback machines to enter the Daunt. His actions caused the death of a few Ossurum workers, which is why he ordered the stoppage, as he didn't want to be found out. So after catching up with our old buddy Erend, we clear out the Bristlebacks and confront Olvend, who sends everyone back to work, giving me a trophy. Another thing Forbidden West does better is the climbing and swimming. You can climb almost anywhere, and you can actually swim under the water. This also leads you to underwater caverns and really opens up the exploration factor of this game. There are also some new and updated collectibles. We have Vista Points, which are similar to Vantage Points in Zero Dawn. However, they're hidden behind a puzzle this time. You don't have to gather all of the collectibles for a trophy in this game, just one of each of 5 different collectibles. There's also Relic Ruins, which you have to solve a number of puzzles to get inside and collect ornaments. I was kind of disappointed that these signal lenses weren't tied to a trophy, because I found all of them, but I didn't really get anything for them. But what is quite possibly the worst addition in this game? Machine Strike, a minigame kinda similar to chess, but it may be the worst minigame in video game history. I hate it, and the only reason I played it is because you have to for a trophy, but luckily I left it till last. But you have no idea. This is the worst game I have ever played. The worst minigame in any game in history. This is I decided to do the rest of the side quests and errands in this area as I wouldn't really need to come back here later in the game. So I met Dealer and Boomer, who crafted me a spike thrower.
Ba-boom!
Ba-boom!
Probably one of my favorite weapons in the game. Rescued some Kaja refugees who were being extorted by one of Ulvin's men, and collected all of the signal lenses for Reyna. A prisoner in Chainscrape named Conover tells Aloy that there are still some active members of the Eclipse nearby, and one of his colleagues tried killing him to cover it up after he was caught eavesdropping, so Conover killed him in self-defense, but the commander doesn't believe his story. While tracking down and killing the seemingly remaining Eclipse members, I got a trophy for unlocking 3 new weapon techniques. The melee combat is so much better in this game. One of my biggest gripes with Zero Dawn was that the melee combat was terrible. You just felt like you were stuck in the mud when using your spear. But Forbidden West makes it feel a lot more fluid, and while it's still not perfect, it is a step in the right direction. Aloy returns to the prisoner with the evidence needed to free him. Vile shows up just as the embassy is about to begin, and we meet the very hostile Tenakth tribe. The Tenakth tribe are actually split into 3 clans. The Desert, Lowland, and Sky clans all have a history of war against each other, but have only recently achieved peace. Speaking to Fashav, Avard's cousin who was taken prisoner, now appears to be quite committed to the Tenakth clan. He survived a combat trial known as the Cool Route that earned him the title of Marshal, which allowed him to serve Chief Hekaro. Kutalo, a marshal of the Sky Clan, arrives and the embassy begins, but it's not long before Regalla, an ex-marshal of Chief Hekaro, and her rebels show up.
As the sun rises over a land at war, so too can it set over a land at peace. Today is such...
Regalla was never too fond of the idea of the embassy, as she could never forgive the Kaja for the Red Raids, so she started her own rebel faction. They were given the ability to ride machines by Silence, and they launch an attack, killing nearly everyone at the embassy, including Fashav. And Studious Vadis. Yes! After fending them off, Regalla retreats and Kutalo loses his arm. We also get access to the glider and get a trophy for surviving the embassy. My final act in Chainscrape was to finally expose Ulvin to the town and kick his slimy ass out. Okay, now we actually move into the Forbidden West. I told you we were going deep. We've barely scratched the surface. I got a trophy for tearing off 100 components from machines, fighting new variations in a field of corruptors frozen in time. I then got a trophy for overriding my first tall neck and exposing part of the map. The tall necks in this game aren't as straightforward as they were in Zero Dawn. You actually have to solve some sort of puzzle or do some critical thinking to get to the top of it. We meet Kereth, an Ossurum salvager who gives us salvaging contracts in order to get better armor. And I overrode my first cauldron core. Like the tall necks, cauldrons are also a lot more complex than they were in Zero Dawn, and they allow you to override almost any machine. It turns out that we didn't get rid of all those Eclipse members earlier, and their leader Vezra had a hideout where he was keeping Utaru tribe members as prisoners. After defeating him and his Ravager, we get a trophy and get invited to Plainsong, the home territory of the Utaru. We track down the coordinates from Silence, and it leads us to an old Horus machine. Silence has Hades trapped in one of its processing orbs, and a recording shows Hades explaining that the signal sent to him was sent for 17.22 years and then stopped. Following the tracks of where Silence dragged the orb, a faulting Hades brags that it is won due to Aloy being unable to find the GAIA backup. Aloy tries asking it more questions, but a lot of its memory has been destroyed. After taunting her some more, Hades explains that it actually reset life on Earth 3 times in the years 2154, 2161, and 2168.
You are incorrect. 3 times. Hades extinction.
What? You remember this?
Yes, data intact. Non-viable biospheres aborted in years 25421612168. Biospheres version 5. There will be no version 6.
There won't need to be. I'm saving this one.
She eventually wiped Hades for good, and Silence tells us via holographic FaceTime that he believes the backup of GAIA is inside the facility she's standing in front of, which apparently also contains a copy of Apollo that was wiped by Ted Faro, because this facility wasn't able to be accessed remotely. After retrieving a copy of Gaia from a recluse spider, we find out that it doesn't actually have any of the subfunctions uploaded to it. But while Aloy and Silence are discussing a plan how to find the subfunctions, the door opens. The door that can only be opened by Aloy. And when I tell you the way my jaw dropped.
Genetic profile confirmed. Entry authorized. Greetings, Dr. Sobek. Please step inside.
Looks promising. Beta. Do we have it? Fantastic. Did the pulse originate here?
Has someone... Shit!
Spectres, Beta! Well, any idea what the hell a clone of Elizabeth Sobek is doing here?
Maybe Gaia made one when it destroyed itself, a Hail Mary to repair the system.
Don't like the sound of that.
Another clone of Elizabeth Sobek shows up with some futuristic looking space people. And we have to find a way to beat this guy when all we have are bow and arrows.
This is gonna be fun.
Come on!
Aloy is eventually able to get away while being chased by their space robots and gets washed away down a river. After seeing a vision of Rost, which turns out to actually be Val, she's taken to an Utaru outpost to recover. We then meet Zoe, who's tending to a special plow horn that the Utaru refer to as a land god. The Utaru are kind of a hippie tribe, but they were probably most affected by the derangement, as not only did the machines turn aggressive, the land god stopped entering the nearby repair bay every year, which Zoe refers to as the Sacred Cave. Without these repairs, the Plowhorn land gods have been deteriorating and over-fertilizing the soil, ruining their harvest, of which they give a portion to the Tenakth. New and hostile machines such as Claw Striders started emerging from the cave, threatening their safety. This also caused them to abandon their long-standing ritual known as the Chorus. Shh. Get in, Val. That's my boy.
What do you want?
Is there some sort of problem?
The problem is foreigners. You're the second one I've seen today.
Apparently the Utaru don't like foreigners. Yikes. This Utaru Karen mentions a Karja huntress that came through. Any guesses who that might be?
A Karja huntress with an Utaru thrush.
What, am I talking to myself here? Yes.
But before we get to that, Aloy, Zoe and Val fight off some machines and enter the repair bay to override the core. As we're trying to escape, we hear the voice of the subfunction Minerva and it initiates a lockdown. Minerva was the subfunction responsible for broadcasting the deactivation codes for the Faro machines. But of course, all the subfunctions were made rogue by the unknown signal. Aloy is able to find a way out and around to a center console and convince Minerva to join with Gaia once again.
Minerva? I need the console. Please.
Access denied.
You were part of something bigger once. Something good. Gaia.
Aloy, cease.
I think you'll disappear into her. Become part of her, like you used to be.
Misery will cease.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Minerva.
So we finally activate Gaia, who quickly realizes that we are Aloy, not Elizabeth.
Gaia.
Greetings, Dr. Sobek. A moment. Scanning data. So it is Aloy, not Elizabeth. We have much to discuss.
We establish this facility as a home base where we come back for upgrades and to see our companions, which is honestly pretty cool. Gaia is able to locate 3 more subfunctions: Aether, responsible for detoxifying the atmosphere and moderating the weather. Poseidon, which is responsible for the organic and chemical composition of water resources. And Demeter, which is responsible for sowing and fertilizing plant life. But only by securing Hephaestus, which was in charge of creating and regulating the machines, can she start fixing the biosphere. But Hephaestus has basically uploaded itself to the cloud, so in order to capture it, we first need to find the other 3 subfunctions and bring them back one by one. The Far Zenith spaceship, the Odyssey, didn't in fact blow up all those years ago, and the space people are supposedly descendants of the Far Zenith colony. It's implied that the Zeniths stole some of Elizabeth's DNA on their ship so that they could have their own clone for whatever reason. Aloy deduces that the Zeniths now want to use GAIA to wipe out Earth to mold it to their own specifications. GAIA also figures out that they were the ones behind the extinction signal that caused the earlier version of GAIA to blow up and for Hades to go rogue. Now stay with me because this gets a little bit confusing. The extinction signal came from Sirius, which is 81 trillion kilometers away, and at the speed of light, the signal would take 8.611 years to travel to Earth, and take another 8.611 years to get back once Hades responded. This gives us the 17.22 years that Hades said it was receiving the signal for. Now if this is still a little bit confusing to you, don't worry, I'm gonna give a full breakdown of the timeline near the end of the video because trust me, it gets juicy. On my way to collect the first subfunction Aether, I stopped by Arrowhead, a Tanakh settlement in the Desert Clan. We help its leader Draka kill a Thunderjaw, and man, there's no better feeling than taking down your first Thunderjaw. He trades its heart for access to water from the Desert Clan's capital, Scalding Spear, which was run by Yara. But the water supply had been drying up and Yara kept a secret, so Draka challenges her as leader of the Desert Clan, and I chose to support Draka, which gave me a trophy.
You didn't have to get involved. I won't forget what you did, Desert Flame.
I also got a trophy for fully upgrading a Valor Surge, which is essentially an ultimate ability on the skill tree. Remember how that Utaru Karen mentioned a Kaja Huntress? Well, that turned out to be Talana from the Hunter's Lodge in Meridian. She's mentoring an Utaru kid and looking for one of her old flames named Amadis. But I don't have time right now to find your old buddy. We track down Aether to a chamber underneath Memorial Grove, the capital of the entire Tanakh tribe. The memorial appears to be a museum, in which the Tanakh worship a hologram of a group of soldiers called the Ten. Chief Hikaru agrees to let us access Aether on one condition. The chief needs more marshals in order to face Regalla, but in order to choose worthy marshals, he needs to hold a cool route, which is a combat tournament, but he can't hold the cool route unless all 3 clans agree to it. So Aloy must force Takote of the Sky Clan to submit. Katalo, the marshal who lost his arm at the embassy, comes with us. As we're leaving, a lady named Dekka gives us a sharp shot bow, and I got a trophy for obtaining all weapon classes. Arriving at the Bulwark, Takote refuses to take part in the conflict and chooses to hide behind their big wall. So we decide to take down the wall. But we're gonna need some firepower. A cannon from a Tremor Tusk. Now Takote has no excuse and we begin the coal route. While we're killing off the machines, Regalla and her rebels infiltrate the camp with a rockbreaker. After holding her off, Chief Hikaru allows us to go underneath and get Aether, and Katalo joins us on our quest. Back at the base, Val is teaching Erend how to use a focus. GAIA receives a signal from a dedicated Aletheia frequency. This is strange because it's one of the subfunctions that she wasn't able to detect the location of. The signal contains coordinates and an SOS message with the number 237, which they believe might be a trap. At the coordinates, we see a Far Zenith absolutely destroying some soldiers until she somehow gets her shield taken down by a special weapon. Aloy tries to get a closer look at the weapon, but it's too hot to touch. So in the meantime, we head inside and discover that it's actually an old Far Zenith research facility containing 236 pods. 237 actually. The other clone from earlier, named Beta, escaped to the facility to hide from the Zeniths, who now have the subfunctions Eleuthia, Artemis, and Apollo. She was able to get into one of the pods and cover her tracks so the Zeniths wouldn't find her. She then sent the SOS message to GAIA. After defeating the space robots named Spectres, we take Beta back to the home base. She tells us that the Far Zeniths faked the story about the Odyssey never making it, and that the Sirius star system was actually destroyed. Then she drops another bombshell.
And now they want to claim Earth for themselves? Not their descendants. What? Not their descendants. It's them. The same ones who left Earth 1,000 years ago. You didn't know? How can they still be alive? They don't even look... What did they do to themselves?
What? They aren't descendants. They're the same people that left Earth 1,000 years ago. They've been able to essentially become immortal through pharmaceutical treatments and technological implants. They birthed and raised Beta on the ship so that she could reactivate Gaia and they could start fresh on Earth once more. Beta is incredibly smart due to studying the copy of the Apollo that the Zeniths already had. But she's also extremely shy and riddled with anxiety due to being raised in isolation and fear. Gaia examines the weapon that took down the Zenith member outside of the base, and they both conclude that silence is responsible.
So I guess we won't be making...
On the way to Las Vegas to recover Poseidon, we run into Talana, who explains that Amadis is at a camp way on the west coast. I mean, damn, this dude must be hung like a horse if she's doing all this. But we'll worry about your boyfriend later. After discovering some hidden signals for a girl named Silga, I got a trophy for gliding uninterrupted for 60 seconds. And looted a survey drone, one of the collectibles needed for a trophy. In Las Vegas, we meet a group of Ossurum delvers trying to recover some ornaments in a sunken city, which also happens to be where Poseidon is located. We need certain parts to craft a mobile underwater breathing device which will let us swim uninterrupted. After draining all the water and killing a Tide Ripper, which looks an awful lot like a Lapras, we're able to recover Poseidon. The ornaments provide a stunning light show which also end up being the collectibles inside the relic ruins, each providing a light show based on different holidays. We return Poseidon to Gaia and Beta tells us that one of the Zeniths, Tilda, was actually quite nice to her and often opened up a private virtual channel for them to chat in secret. So I was now ready to retrieve the third and final subfunction, Demeter, however you say it. On my way I found a black box which gave me a trophy for finding one each of 5 different collectibles. This also serves part of a slightly bigger side narrative, but I'll come back to that later. I completed a salvage contract and upgraded a weapon with coils which both gave me trophies. After defending an Utaru settlement from Regalla's rebels, I used my new underwater breathing device to retrieve some relics for Gendis, who gives us a tripcaster. I never really use tripcasters, my playstyle is more aggressive. I mainly stick to the bows, slings, and spike thrower, and to be honest, I barely even use the traps. But I love how many different weapon options there are because it opens up so much opportunity for how you can play the game. Demeter is way out west, so there's a lot of ground to cover. And one of my criticisms of this game is there's a lot of back and forth without seeing much in between. I probably should have brought this up earlier in the video, but fast travel is free, however you do have to be at a discovered campfire to do it. I do like this change as you can still buy fast travel packs if you need it, and traveling by foot or mount is still great. But this map is huge, so a lot of the time is spent traveling. I did bang out a couple of side quests on my way and also start a few to come back to later. And honestly, as much as I like the side quests, a lot of them are kind of similar. Step 1, speak to someone. Step 2, go and find their lost friend or kill some bad guys for them. Step 3, find their friend dead or either help bring them back to where they're meant to be. You get the point. After fighting off some stalkers and clamberjaws and overriding a tallneck, I finally reached the location of Demeter, but the door is blocked by vines attached to a metal flower. We need to head to Test Station Ivy in order to figure out how to override it and clear the vines. This actually introduces us to a new tribe called the Quen, a pretty advanced and powerful empire built around their discovery of the focuses and extensive knowledge of the old ones. We meet Alva, who says the Quen come from across the Pacific, most likely China, and they landed in San Francisco. Only certain people within the tribe are entrusted with focuses. However, Alva's is an early model with limited access, so Aloy shares an update with her so that she can see everything that we see. While we're trying to pass through the facility, the girls accidentally initiate a biomass conversion test, wiping out all the nature inside the ring. This is the same way that the Faro war machine stripped the Earth and replicated, which Alva is absolutely shocked to learn about, given that her focus knowledge was very limited.
What is this?
That's how the world ended. Your legacy didn't tell you that?
The time of ashes. But most of the data about that is lost or forbidden.
Well, they created machines that consumed all life. You just saw how. It's a miracle anything survived.
I don't want to know this. This is not why I'm here. I need the wisdom of my ancestors to help save my people, not forbidden knowledge of their sins.
After finding a Dreadwing and entering Test Station Ivy, we get the code nodule that allows us to get past the vines and retrieve Demeter. Some Quen soldiers show up ready to kill Aloy for attacking their fellow men, but she only did it in self-defense as they attack first. However, they are quick to stand down when they realize that she's a clone of Dr. Sobek. Now that we have all three sub-functions, GAIA is now strong enough to absorb Hephaestus. To do so, we need to trap it physically in a cauldron with two cores, Cauldron Gemini. But if we were to activate the cores, a power surge would alert the Zeniths. So Aloy suggests sending Erend, Zoe, and Katalo to other cauldrons at the same time to create fake-out power surges to throw the Zeniths off. Sounds solid, right? Wrong. Apparently we won't even be able to capture Hephaestus, as it was able to change its access module to deny Elizabeth's alpha access, but there is one level higher than alpha.
We need a higher level of clearance. There is no higher... Ted Faro's mega clearance. The one he used to purge the Apollo database and kill the alphas. But to get it, you would have to find Thebes. The private bunker he retreated to when the world ended, and nobody knows where that is, not even the Zeniths. Their only intel was that it was somewhere in San Francisco.
Turns out Ted Faro had his own private bunker called Thebes that he retreated to somewhere in San Francisco. But luckily for Aloy, she just met the Quen who happened to be set up in San Francisco. Before heading out there, I decided to help Katalo get the parts necessary to build a prosthetic arm.
As we seek.
I'll download the database to your focus so you can search through it later.
What about the components?
They should be somewhere on the... Spectres! Are in there. Gotcha.
I look forward to putting what we found to good use.
Out west near the ship needed to travel to San Francisco, we bump into Talana again, and she admits that Amadis, the man she's been chasing, has been searching for his ex, Nessa, who went missing 5 years ago. I mean, he must really be packing if she's doing all of this just to be a rebound. We catch up with Amadis, who tracks Nessa down to a nearby Tanakh camp. This guy? Really?
Looking for information about a Karja soldier. She might have been a prisoner here 5 years back. Her name was Nessa.
The Karja Nessa was here.
She now goes by the name Rataka and has joined the Tanakh as a warrior, as the Karja didn't allow females to become soldiers. Talana finally wakes up and now Amadis is all alone. Sorry player. Taking a skiff over to the beautiful white sandy beach ruins of San Francisco. Sorry, I just had to. I overrode a tall neck in the water and decided to test myself by taking out a slaughter spine which resembles a Spinosaurus. At the camp we meet Sio, who believes that he is the living embodiment of Ted Faro. Get it? Sio? CEO. After getting a trophy for upgrading 3 weapons, he takes us to Thebes, which is being guarded by an Apex Thunderjaw.
Well, you're right about that. It's designed to open for only one man. Ted Faro.
Obviously, Ted Faro was the only one able to access the bunker, so we have to find another way in and open the door. We start seeing how unhinged Sio is when he makes Aloy dress up like Elizabeth before they enter the bunker. Searching his bunker, we kill some corruptors and find some quite disturbing audio notes talking about Ted Faro and his, how should I say, behaviors in the bunker.
Any more diviners?
Hideous statue of Ted in the Great Hall.
No more delays. We must proceed.
His eyes. And I know now that he's watching. He's watching us all. He's always had power over us.
I just never knew how much. Brianna told me that Grigori hacked into restricted files and found out something awful. That Ted murdered important people who worked on Zero Dawn. Did Ted punish Grigori? Kill him for discovering what he did?
Yes, that looks like.
How could that be? Dad said there wasn't a mark on Grigori's body. His heart just gave out.
When I built this place, when its special systems were designed, I knew what I wanted. Protection, of course. An unlimited power source, that was a given. But also, control.
Ted Faro is a horrible dude, and you don't hate him enough. I mean, in Zero Dawn, I knew he was a bad guy. He created the Corruptors and Deathbringers, purged Apollo, and killed the other Alphas. But after playing the game, I really thought about it. He was so narcissistic and slimy that he sabotaged the future of the entire human race just so they wouldn't know that he was a scumbag. But that was nothing compared to what I found next.
You saw something. I could tell. Did the data explain what Faro used this device for?
I think he was undergoing treatments to live longer. A lot longer.
Really? Could he still be alive?
Don't be foolish. If he were alive, he would have kept his essence. It would not have been passed down to me. Remember, he was the renewer. Of course, he would have stopped at nothing to grasp the secrets of life and death. But not for himself. Everything he did was for a new beginning. For us, for the Quen. And for his true heir, me.
There. Omega clearance. What do you have to say for yourself, Ted?
Somta's dead, along with his kid. Found him on the floor of his office this morning, holding hands. Must have poisoned themselves. I never would have put them to sleep. She was just a girl, for Christ's sake. I offered them life. And this is how they repaid me, by leaving me all alone. But I guess I've been alone since this whole thing began. Alone in bearing the burden. For the past. For the future. Someday they'll come, and I'll be here to greet them. Sometimes said my aging has stopped altogether. If anything, my cells are replenishing faster than normal. I just need some time for the mutations to calm down. Time. And energy. Sometimes said the reactor can give me what I need. To grow strong again. To get my shit back together. So I can greet the kids. They're gonna need me. My advice. My guidance. And then I won't be alone anymore.
You don't want to go in there.
Are you mad?
They don't actually show what he looks like, but you can get a pretty good idea from the hologram from earlier. Apparently the game devs didn't want to show him as it would bring in a horror element that they didn't want the game to be associated with. I mean, I kind of understand, plus the imagination of it can get pretty wild. CEO orders his men to kill it with fire and also kill Aloy and Alva, which triggers the bunker to self-destruct, as per Ted Faro's programming, and CEO gets some sweet karma.
Hurry, sire! Out of my way!
But where's the CO?
He's gone. I guess you could say he gave his life to help us attain the secrets of Thebes.
Aloy invites Alva to join GAIA's League of Justice Avengers, and the device needed to trap Hephaestus is ready. Problem is though, in that time, Hephaestus has grown stronger, making it harder to capture, so Aloy suggests having Beta there, which would help the process. She's initially too scared of being caught by the Zeniths, but after hearing a heartfelt speech about Rost, she agrees. Aloy, Beta, and Val head to the Gemini cauldron, while the rest of the gang go to the other cauldrons for the fake-outs. While they're trying to capture Hephaestus from the core, it manages to escape deeper into the facility and orders machines to attack us. This gave me a trophy for killing all transport machines before having to defeat an apex slaughter spine.
It's done.
Overriding the network uplink sent her faces back to the core where the gang are able to capture it. We get a nice little gift from Beta and the Zeniths show up.
Eric, get Beta. And squash that bug while you're Come on! Quit screwing around.
Now we're having fun, right?
Damn, bro, that one hurt. The Zeniths steal Gaia and Tilda brings Aloy to her old mansion. This is the same mansion that Tilda modeled in the private virtual channel that her and Beta used to talk in. Ooh, look at my art! Bitch, I don't care about your damn paintings. Tilda says that the Zeniths were already keeping an eye on Hephaestus, which is how they knew they would be there. She insists that she's not like the others and now wants to help Aloy get Gaia back and foil their plans. Somehow Tilda was able to find and fix Aloy's very first focus and reveals that Silence has been working with Regalla and her rebels.
Silence.
Oh, he's been a busy bee, building an army powerful enough to crash through Gerard's precious base.
Regalla and her rebels.
Even now she's preparing a final march on the Tenakth capital. When she wins, she'll have the entire tribe under her control. Hundreds of warriors and machines to throw at the base. She's been duped. They'll all perish, of course. But it should be enough to break Gerard's defenses and allow Silence to kill him, along with all the others.
Using the new weapon he's developed.
Tilda also reveals that her and Elizabeth had a history, which is why she is so fond of Aloy and Beta. Aloy is given access to Beta's channel so that they can talk privately while she's being held by the Zenith. And we go and prepare for the final battles. We join Zoe at a makeshift grave for Val, and she reveals that she's pregnant.
I'm with child, Aloy. I was going to tell him when he got back from Gemini.
The gift Beta gave us in the cauldron was the ability to override a sunwing. Yeah, you heard that. We get to fly. Honestly, this is probably the single best upgrade they made from Zero Dawn to Forbidden West. The only thing that could top this is riding a Thunderjaw or a Tremortusk. We fly to an old Horus and pick up an energy cell to drop on Regalla's rebels.
There's the energy cell. Palpatine's back. Got the cell.
This disables their machines while they're attacking Memorial Grove.
Enough bloodshed! Let's settle this. You and me.
Easy to say when you're on top of a machine.
Well, that was just to get your attention. I don't need any help to take you down.
After fighting with Regalla, I decided to spare her life and she would join us in the final fight.
But there's another battle ahead. Against an enemy more powerful than anything you can imagine. And I need people. A squad. That's willing to do whatever it takes.
A better death than this? Yes. My blood is yours. Your enemies are mine.
Silence sends a message to Aloy, angry that she ruined his plans to attack the Zenith base with Regalla and her army, so she invites him to the base like it's some sort of charity shelter. Now there's only one more main quest of the game, but I wanted to knock out some more trophies and side quests and also get leveled up a bit more for the final fight. So I helped Kotallo test out his new arm and retrieve the armor of a fallen Sky Clan member from a Stormbird's territory.
What's left of it anyway? She didn't stand a chance against that Stormbird.
I then went and overrode all the Tallnecks and the Cauldron Cores. We see Silence at the base, and Aloy reveals her plan to get into the Zenith base without Regalla and her machines.
You can.
I mean, she's just bringing back anyone at this point. Who's she gonna invite next? Studious Wadis? Oh wait, I got trophies for upgrading every pouch type, upgrading 3 outfits, overrode 10 different types of machines and stealth killed 10 machines, and performing 3 different melee combos. Now that I could fly, Relic Ruins got a lot easier, as I could just drop in through the roof without solving all the puzzles. There's a trophy for completing 3 of them and for riding all 3 available mounts. It's no Thunderjaw, but riding a robot raptor is still pretty cool. I'm going to sort of speed run through the next few trophies, which are winning 2 gauntlet run races, killing all acquisition machines, getting 3 stripes at 1 hunting ground, clearing my first rebel camp, and my 4th rebel outpost. These rebel camps were led by Asera and her faction, the Sons of Prometheus. Asera was an Ossurum rebel who worked with Duval. Duval was the man from Zero Dawn who kidnapped Aaron's sister and tried to assassinate Sun King Avad in Meridian.
I'm the guy who caught the Nora Asera's been looking for, that's who.
Yeah, we don't know you.
Huh.
Silence offered her machine overrides and focuses in exchange for her helping Regalla and her rebels attack the Zenith base. After infiltrating her base and killing her, I got another trophy and the legendary Sun Scourge bow. I then decided it would be a good idea to try the melee pits. It was not a good idea. The melee pits are a spear combat trial where you have to do specific combos and then defeat the pit master. They're not overly challenging per se, but getting the combos themselves was a nightmare. You have to get the timing perfect, and if you mess up or miss by even a millisecond, you fail. One of the bosses had a shield and you had to defeat him in like a minute and a half, and with just a spear, this was pretty much impossible. So I found the ultimate cheese strat. I read online that if you place traps in the arena before you start the challenge, it insta-kills the boss. Now that I completed all the melee pits, it was time for the Enduring, the final boss of the melee pits. Unfortunately, the trap cheese strat doesn't work on her, but it gave me a trophy, and she upgraded my spear. I got a trophy for completing an arena challenge set, which is a time trial against machines. I then went and collected all the black boxes, which all play recordings of pilots during the Faro Plague. There isn't a trophy for this, but it really adds to the lore and the history of this world. It also gave me a legendary blast sling, and I was able to trade the black boxes for special machine parts. I then headed over to Legacy's landfall to help Alva look for data on a flood control system called Leviathan. After climbing up this massive tower that used to be the At Bay headquarters and solving a number of puzzles, we find a recording of the CEO, Eileen Sasaki. She explains that she overthrew her father as the head of the company because he was contaminating the water supplies of San Francisco. Alba was able to download the data, giving me a trophy. I then had to complete 2 quests that required a flying mount, which gave me a trophy and a legendary spike thrower. Okay, we're nearly there. I went and completed the rest of the hunting grounds, and now I don't know if it's just me, but the hunting grounds in Forbidden West are way harder than Zero Dawn. This one in particular nearly sent me over the edge. Oh, and the snowy one with the Rockbreaker and Bellowbacks? But at least you only have to get the lowest mark at each trial. I had already acquired some legendary weapons, but I wanted more. And one of the best ways to get multiple legendary outfits and weapons is the arena challenges. You get special medals from completing each trial, which you can then trade for weapons and armor, but the trials are kinda hard, so I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Don't cancel me for this one. I set the difficulty to story mode, which is the easiest difficulty in the game, and I was getting through these trials in like 20 seconds. Don't worry, I only did it for the trials and I changed it right back. But now I was onto my final side quest, which was helping Zoe to update and reboot the Plowhorn land gods. Now they can go back to singing and fertilizing plants. Alright, it's time for the final quest. Let's do this. The team go over their plan one last time. Tilda gets them inside, Silence takes down their shield with his device, we rescue Gaia and Beta from the launch tower, and Aloy keeps her secret plan secret. She sends Alva and Kotallo on a side mission once they're inside the base, to destroy the regulator that controls the Spectres and to find out more information about the Zeniths, because we still don't fully trust Tilda. Tilda takes us through a secret passageway and hacks a node sensor to keep us undetected for a short time. The gang split up while I fought off and snuck past some specters with Errand, but the Zeniths figure out we're at the base and deploy hundreds of specters, and we finally get to see Aloy's super secret plan that is no longer a secret.
What is that?
Our army.
I think you got their attention.
Very clever. You had Beta inject Hephaestus into the base's printer matrix.
Which is faster and more powerful than any cauldron.
Now that we have an army of friendly slaughter spines and thunderjaws, we make our way to the launch tower. Unfortunately, this means that Hephaestus was able to escape again, but that's a problem for Horizon 3. Regalla makes a typical bad guy turned good guy noble sacrifice, which to be honest, anyone could have seen coming from a mile away.
This is the death I was promised. Go!
And we get a face-off with the Zeniths. Silence deploys the weapon that disables their shields, and Gerard tries escaping with Beta and GAIA. And then I got a rematch with Eric.
I don't need a shield to take you out.
Trust me, you're gonna wish you had one. He's almost done.
You think I can...
Ah, don't like that, do ya? Now we're having fun, right?
That was for Val. While we're climbing the shuttle tower, Alva was able to break into the Zenith network and finds their plans to leave Earth, as well as something called Nemesis. After freeing Beta, she's able to find out that whatever Nemesis is, it destroyed Sirius and it's following the Zeniths to Earth. Tilda shows up and kills Gerard with a backshot. She explains that Nemesis is an AI based on the minds of the Zeniths as a way to achieve digital immortality. But after decades of being surrounded by the minds of twisted billionaires, it went rogue and then escaped and destroyed their home. It turns out that Nemesis was the one that sent the extinction signal to Hades, wanting to destroy the Earth before they got there. But when it realized its plan didn't work, it decided to follow them and finish the job itself. So they wanted to take GAIA and find a random planet to build a new home where Nemesis wouldn't be able to find them. Tilda was in love with Elizabeth, so now she wants to kidnap Aloy,
not some inferior copy,
and make her some sort of sex slave on this new planet, I guess. And what better way to do that than with a big robot suit?
You can't force me, Tilda. Your shield is gone.
I have something better. Spectre Prime, to me.
Take cover! Get to the door!
Submit, Aloy. You can't win.
No! I've heard that before.
Sticks and stone. We must leave together.
I clipped that thing's armor. Oh.
So Silence actually knew about Nemesis the whole time, and Nemesis was the one that gave Hades the knowledge to beat the Zenith shields, which Silence then extracted. He's ready to just straight up leave Earth because he doesn't want to deal with Nemesis, but almost too quickly just changes his mind and decides to stay and help fight. GAIA is restored with most of her sub-functions, the Toxic Blight and the Supercell Storms are gone, and the Earth is saved. With the main story done, we get a super smooth transition into the DLC, Burning Shores. 13 Zeniths in total descended to the Earth from the Odyssey, however there was only 12 bodies found. A Zenith named Walter Londra was able to escape to Los Angeles. Walter was a bit of a celebrity and founded a company called Heaven Sent that built ships and drones to mine asteroids near Earth for rare metals. The headquarters for this company? You guessed it, Los Angeles. Burning Shores has its own side quests and errands, sets of collectibles, and a couple of new machines. It also has the best boss fight in the entire Horizon series, so you're gonna want to stick around. On our way to LA, Aloy is attacked by Londra's tower sending energy beams, and she crash lands.
Come on! Come on!
We meet Seika, a member of the Quen tribe who brings us to the main camp. These guys all got separated from the main group in San Francisco. We meet Rang, a compliance officer on a power trip that tries to arrest Seika for stealing a focus to look for some missing Quen. But we get taken to meet Admiral Garrett, who allows her to keep the focus so her and Aloy can find those missing, one of which is Seika's sister. In order to start looking for them, we need to take out Londra's tower by climbing up and taking out the Spectre drone.
Aloy, I truly hope you've enjoyed this tower. I set it up just for you.
It's done!
We go to the headquarters of Heaven Sent to look for clues, which tell us about a program called MSP and leads us to a transmitter in the north. Aloy deduces that Londra is building a ship so he can finally leave Earth. I got a trophy for buying one outfit and one weapon with Brimshine, a rare crystal that can only be found in the Burning Shores. The transmitter in the north is coming from an old Horus machine at the Hollywood sign, where the missing Quen are being held. Londra was able to revive a small part of it to power the barriers protecting the compound, so after taking out the two generators, we're able to get inside. We find a missing Quen who appear to be brainwashed and worship Londra with the promise of an ascension. Aloy and Seika are able to smooth talk their way in by saying they saved a man named Zeth, Londra's right-hand man. One of the guards is suspicious of the girls, so he lets them in, but refuses to let them into the Ascension Hall. The room is filled with paintings and holograms of Londra that the brainwashed Quen admire. In order to get access to the Ascension Hall, we need to prove that we're worthy by reciting the words of attainment. While I was looking for clues on these words of attainment, we come across a couple of friends, Lan and Otosu. Otosu isn't quite convinced about Londra's promise, so he tells us the words of attainment so we can get into the Ascension Hall. Inside the hall, we inspect the ship that Londra was using the Horus to print, the same way it makes machines. But it contains a highly toxic nuclear reactor which would pretty much kill everyone in the area when it launches. Just before Aloy can explain to Seika about Nemesis and why Londra wants to leave, Zeth and some Quen soldiers show up. After defeating Zeth, he tells us that the rest of the brainwashed Quen are being taken to a dinosaur park in the south. The guard from earlier shows up and realizes he's been lied to, and Aloy finally tells Seika about Nemesis. We get a new Zenith weapon, the Spectre Gauntlet, and I got a trophy for discovering the Ascension. Seika already figured out that her sister was one of Londra's brainwashed followers when she recognized the mural inside the Ascension Hall, which was painted by her sister. Aloy and Seika share a moment and come up with a plan to get to the park. Londra has another tower set up at the park to shoot anything that flies to it, so we need to find parts in order to craft an override for a water wing so that we can fly and dive underneath the water. We arrive at the dino park and find audio notes from Londra talking about his ex-wife and a dinosaur figurine, one of the collectibles needed for a trophy. Eventually we find Seika's sister Kina reciting lines, hoping to be chosen by Londra. We come across MSP, or Mutiny Suppression Protocol, which is what he's using to brainwash the Quen.
The bird, the fish, the fish. Respond.
Aloy activates Nova, Londra's personal AI assistant, who tells us his plans to populate a new world using Quen DNA, and is now choosing companions to act like his old inner circle from 1,000 years ago. The lines that the girls were rehearsing were for a quote-unquote audition to play the part of Londra's wife.
So he wants adoring friends, as long as they can't quite think for themselves.
And is Kina close to joining this retinue?
Correct. In the most important role, that of Walter's mate. He is looking for someone that reminds him of his late wife, a famous actress. He's even having candidates recite lines from one of her best-known hollows.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
Oh, by the way, his wife cheated on him with his best friend Jack. One of the reasons he's so paranoid. Londra constantly tweaks Nova's personality and traits, and this has caused her to basically become suicidal. In exchange for giving Aloy all of this information, she asks for Aloy to purge her and end her suffering, but not before she disables the air and sea defenses and unlocks the door to Londra.
last. I'm free.
We find him making the girls read their lines, and dude, it's Starkiller from Force Unleashed. I knew I recognized this guy.
What? Oh.
Seika.
Kina is able to break free from her mind control suspiciously quick.
Now I see. The Ginger Avengers finally caught up with me. Nova, how did the riffraff get past you? Nova?
Nova's gone. She couldn't stand another minute with you, and I can see why. I thought the other Zeniths were disgusting. But you really are something, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Yes, I am different than the others. Yes! Among other things, I have dug up a way to crush you like an insect.
Sheesh! Bro, this guy is mental. The Admiral gathers up the rest of the Quen, and the Horus powers up even more. Londra activates the Horus so he can safely launch his ship and crush Aloy and Seika. He uses it to make some corruptors, and we sabotage the heat sink to overheat the Horus.
Alert. Temperature critical.
It's working!
Emergency heat sink engaged.
Uh-oh.
Thought you had me, ladies? Think again.
He's still able to get it moving, but he has to head to the water to cool down. We have to overheat the other heat sinks and eventually climb its legs. I'm sorry, but can we just appreciate how incredible this is? I can't believe I'm actually fighting a Horus. I've been wanting this ever since I played Zero Dawn, and this is insane.
That launch repelled that one. Uh-oh. It's charging again, Aloy. Get clear.
What a shame.
Oh.
Climb up and find him. Stand by.
You. How unwelcome. You really do ruin everything, don't you?
With Londra and the Horus defeated, Seika saves us with the Water Wing, and we let Silence know about our victory. We get praise from the Admiral, and Aloy introduces Seika to Alva to coordinate the tribe's reunion. Aloy checks in with Kina before going to meet Seika, and they both give speeches about how they feel like they don't belong anywhere, yada yada yada. So they suggest belonging together? And yeah, I know some people are like, oh my god, woke, why does she have to be gay? I mean, this was obvious. Did you not see the hints they were dropping? And dude, are you really complaining about two chicks making out? Back at the base, Silence was able to find a log containing information on 21st century weapons that might be able to defeat Nemesis. I had a few more side quests and collectibles to do on Burning Shores, so I went back to help Theoa track down a missing Quen expedition. We come across Rakoma, who was part of the expedition led by Enki. Upon searching for the rest of the crew, we find the other members dead from machines and recover Enki's focus from a net attached to a Tide Ripper. Aloy confronts Rakoma, who admits he was sent by Officer Reng to spy on Enki. Reng gets outed for going behind the Admiral's back, and we give Enki's focus to Theoa. I got a trophy for killing 5 Bioguts and 50 Sting Spawn, the new machines of Burning Shores. Then I helped Utaru track down his friend Lan. Lan and a few others were kidnapped by some of the brainwashed Quen who still believed in the Ascension. So after bringing him back to Utaru and getting the part needed to upgrade the Spectre Gauntlet, I got 2 trophies. I came across a Stormbird making, well, a storm, and taking it down gave me access to a new collectible, Aerial Captures. Aerial Captures are kind of a cross between the black boxes and Vista Points. Following a flight path plays a recording of a soldier fighting in the Faro Plague and ends up showing a glimpse of the battle. Then I went and found all the dinosaur figures and had to do a quiz to get the trophy. I overrode the core of the one and only cauldron on Burning Shores, found some treasure left by Ossurum Delvers, and collected all of the aerial captures. I was doing some more exploring when I came across a voice calling for help from behind a locked door. Now why does that sound so familiar? My goat Gildan.
Gildan?
Aloy! My flame-haired Nora, my damn fixer, my second set of hands!
Remember him from the Frozen Wilds DLC who got stuck in the dam? Well, he got himself stuck again after searching for some treasure with his friend Olvar. They got separated, so we agreed to help him find his friend. Unfortunately, we find him dead, but Aloy gives him a focus and invites him back to the base. So heartwarming.
Whoa! Sparks to steel. Look at that. And that. Over there, too.
I will put you in touch with some friends of mine. They'll help you get up to speed on using the focus. And I meant what I said. If you ever really need me, give me a call. I'll always help a friend.
Hello? Is this thing working?
Hello, Kelton. Let us continue our conversation on another frequency.
Whoa! Who is... Wait! Don't tell me. Another friend of a certain flame-haired Nora? By the Forge, this is gonna be marvelous.
Indeed it will.
Thanks, Gaia.
At this point, I only had a couple of trophies left, but I wanted to do all of the side quests and errands, so I went back to Vegas to help Morland get a part for his hot air balloon, which crashed thanks to a Stormbird. Oh, and I found these secret God of War totem collectibles. There's no markers or trophy for these, but it's a nice little nod to the series. There's the Brock and Sindri totems at a Glinthawk site in the southeast of the map, near No Man's Land, a Kratos totem at a Sunwing site near Cliffwatch, and the final one is an Atreus totem next to a Stormbird site near the Isle of Spires. Like I said earlier, a lot of these side quests can get a bit repetitive. You go and find someone's missing friend or lover, and they're usually dead. But to be honest, as repetitive as they were mostly enjoyable. You can tell they really put a lot of effort into these side quests. They're definitely a lot more fleshed out than Zero Dawn's and are pretty independent from the main story, while also tying into major themes of the game. But I do think that some of the effort that went into the side quest maybe took away from the main quest, but I'm gonna get into that in my analysis. There were a few standouts, like checking up on Draka to see how he's doing as leader at Scalding Spear. But he only went and lost the damn kid. Starting to think I should have backed Yara instead. Don't worry kid, I'll save you. Wait. Finding Boomer, who went missing all the way out in Las Vegas, saving these Tanakh who were stuck on a cliff, and helping this blind dude build an instrument from a long leg part. I then learned all of the new skills in the Burning Shores DLC, killed 5 machines with the Spectre Gauntlet while gliding, and did the grapple strike on 5 different machines. Even though I didn't really need to, I tried to collect all of the survey drones, but the last 2 were bugged for some reason. So I just left it and went to do the last trophy needed for the Platinum, Machine Strike. Did I mention I hate it? Apart from the tutorial at the beginning of the game, I didn't touch it once. I can appreciate why they added this to the game, you know, having something similar to Gwent from The Witcher or Blackjack in Red Dead 2, but I just had no interest in it whatsoever. I had to beat 2 different opponents, and without knowing how to play the game, nor having the patience to learn, I was chalked. I tried watching a few videos on how to cheese my way through it, but they didn't help. So after an hour of just winging it and nearly snapping my controller in half, I finally did it.
You won. Guess I still have a lot to learn.
Oh my god. Finally! Oh, that was the worst trophy ever. Yes! And there you have it, 80 hours, all side quests and errands, all but a couple of rebel camps, most collectibles, and the DLC. So what did I think? How does Forbidden West compare to Zero Dawn? Well, as a game, Forbidden West is better. Graphically, it's amazing. All the mechanics are better, the flying, the grappling with the pullcaster, the weapons, the ammo types. However, the story in Zero Dawn is better. But like I said, I enjoyed this story. But Zero Dawn is practically unbeatable, unraveling the mystery of the past and Aloy's origins while also dealing with the current threat of the eclipse was simply amazing. I'll never forget my jaw dropping when I found out what Zero Dawn was. But this game had some jaw dropping moments too. Seeing another clone for the first time, and seeing the Zeniths, the same people from 1,000 years ago, had me floored. I've seen some people say it was too sci-fi, but I honestly don't think it's that far-fetched to have them in the game. You gotta remember that Earth was very technologically advanced before it all ended. The Zeniths were a good storyline, and it made sense, however I think they were underutilized. I would have liked to see more of them in the game, maybe a cinematic of their home being destroyed, or a few more missions dedicated to them just generally being more of a threat. I also think they could have done more with Regalla. She was presented as one of the major antagonists, and to be honest, she was kind of forgettable. I mean, she was a fine character and her intentions made sense, but she just wasn't really involved enough. But I think I know why. Like I said earlier, I think they put so much focus on the side quests that it took away from the main quests. Which is good in a way because it definitely feels more complete as an open world experience, but Zero Dawn had 22 main quests, whereas Forbidden West only had 17, meaning they could have easily added another 1 or 2 quests for each Regalla and the Zeniths, and it probably would have been perfect. The tribes were interesting, I found the Quen really fascinating, and the Tenakth were great. The Utaru were a bit funny, but I guess they were a nice balance to the grit of the Tenakth. I like the inclusion of the companions, Alva, Erend, Zoe, Val, but Katalo was probably my favorite. He was just so cool, and even with one arm, my guy was crushing it. Val's death was sad, but I feel like it would have made more of an impact if he was more present in the first game. Or, hear me out, if it was Erend who died. Now that would have hurt. Silence. I feel like he needed more screen time, man. He is such a good character. I do wonder how they're gonna handle him in the third game, obviously with Lance Reddick passing, RIP, because this man is irreplaceable. The new machines, incredible. Slaughter Spines, Slitherfangs, Dreadwings, they really raised the bar. Although I don't know if it's just me, but I felt like I could never really dodge their attacks. Anytime they would lunge or jump at me, I'd dodge multiple times but still get hit. And these guys do a lot of damage. The DLC, I mean the story was pretty good. Walter Londra brainwashing people to take them into space? Pure evil. Learning more about the Quen, seeing Gildan, and fighting a Horus? My jaw was on the floor pretty much the entire time. That alone makes it better than Frozen Wilds. People criticize Aloy's character development, but I personally think she's great. She went from being an outcast to literally saving the world, starting on a mission that she felt only she could take on, to finally opening up and leaning on those around her. Yeah, but she's such a bitch in the beginning. Imagine you were looking for GAIA for 6 months, and then some dude tells you that you can't get past this wall. You'd be pretty mad too. Plus, if it was a guy acting this way, I'm sure there wouldn't be an issue. And yeah, she's a lesbian, but that was kinda obvious, even back in Zero Dawn. Rejecting Erend, rejecting Sun King Avad, and I don't know if you noticed, but Elizabeth Sobek wasn't exactly a man-eater. But seriously, you guys really getting upset by 2 hot chicks kissing? Couldn't be me. I can't wait to see what they do with Game 3. It'll obviously be centered around finding weapons to fight against Nemesis and capturing Hephaestus again. I would like to see them move to different parts of the world though. Maybe hop over the Pacific to the Quen homeland, or even in Europe. Who knows? But I do wonder how they're going to top the Horus boss fight. According to the timeline, Nemesis should be arriving the year after the events of Forbidden West, in 3042. Which reminds me, the timeline. I really couldn't wrap my head around this until I watched a video from Mangled Pork Gaming. He gives a really great breakdown with some extra details not necessarily mentioned in the game. We know that the extinction signal took 8.6 years to get to Hades and then back to Nemesis. But what about everything else in between? When did the Zeniths leave? The events of Zero Dawn and Forbidden West happened in the years 3040 and 3041. But it was in January 3012 that Nemesis destroyed Sirius and the Zeniths left for Earth. Shortly after, Nemesis sent a signal to GAIA so that they wouldn't be able to land on Earth after their 29-year journey. In August 3020, the extinction signal is received and GAIA begins the process to create Aloy before self-destructing. Hades and all the sub-functions go rogue and the derangement starts. In April 3021, Aloy is born, and it's theorized that sometime in 3025, the Odyssey intercepted the return signal from Hades. That's when they decide to create Beta and come up with their plan to steal Gaia and go to another planet. April 3029, 17.22 years after the signal started broadcasting, Nemesis learns of Hades' failure and stops broadcasting the signal. It leaves for Earth to finish the job itself, estimated to take 13 years. In 3036, the Zeniths learn that Nemesis is coming after them, and in November 3037, Hades acknowledges that the signal has finished broadcasting. In 3040, during the events of Zero Dawn, Hades discovers the existence of Aloy and wants to kill her so he can stop her from purging it. 3041, the Odyssey are estimated to arrive, and the events of Forbidden West take place. And in 3042, Nemesis will arrive. We're probably still a few years away from Horizon 3, but I absolutely cannot wait. What are your theories for Horizon 3, and what were your thoughts on Forbidden West? If you enjoyed this video, please do me a massive favor by dropping a like. Did you enjoy the in-depth discussion about this game, or do you just prefer seeing the trophies and a quick summary of the story? Let me know in the comments below, and if you do want to see more Platinum videos like this, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.